Hi, my name is Arman Khodaei. This is my second video in my autism series. I am a 22-year-old high-functioning autistic. If you haven't had the chance to do so yet, I would recommend that you check out my first video, The Cures for Autism, because it has a lot of valuable information which mostly will not be covered in today's video. In addition, I have a website called boyinwonderland.com, and that will soon launch a forum where parents, teachers, doctors, other autistics can interact with each other. And also the first chapter of my book, which will hopefully be coming out sometime soon, is available for reading on there, and it is a very fascinating book which really offers some very good insight into what goes on in the autistic mind. So I really recommend you check out that website at boyinwonderland.com. Alright, the first thing I wish to talk about today is ABA. Well, what ABA in general is, it's like conditioning, like B.F. Skinner, for those who aren't familiar, like Pavlov's dog, and it's like trying to condition the autistic child to be more like a normal individual in society. Now, ABA throughout history has shown to have the most positive effects on autism, but it is takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and I want to talk about why it does take a lot of time and why it does take a lot of money and why it's not always effective or why it's not fully effective. And let me put it to you this way. ABA, it's like you're going to another country. Like say you're in America and you're going to China, and you see this Chinese person, you're forcing English down their throats. You're like, you have to learn English, blah, 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 blah. And you only speak English and you expect them to learn English. So that's what ABA is kind of like, when you get them to try to make eye contact and all that kind of stuff over and over again, you know. So you're forcing them to learn something that they don't have a really good comprehension of. And so I want to suggest an alternative to ABA, that parents can do this right away without the help of another individual, but getting someone else to help you might help you with this. And I touched upon this a little bit in my other video, but I'm going to go more in depth with that. And this is the way to think of autism. It's like they're in a different country and you have to speak their language. So what you have to do, you see, is you have to try to think the way they think. So to try to think the way they think, you know, try to do what they do. When they do something, try to do it too. If they set something up in a complete row, set something up in a complete row too. And what you're doing by this also, or if they flap their hands, you flap their hand. You flap your hands. What you're doing by this is you're showing the child that you understand their world. They see you doing the same thing as they're doing, and they're going to open up to you more, and they're going to be more likely to learn. Like if you start learning some Chinese and you go to China, the Chinese person's going to open up to you more and maybe want to learn some English. So autism is the same way. You know, don't just observe what your child does. Get engaged with what they do. And that's the first thing I recommend. If you can, also, you know, try to become a part of the world. Like I talked about this a little bit more in my other videos. So if they really like Harry Potter, dress up as Harry Potter. You know, that'll be really awesome. It's like, wow, now they can relate to you now. That's one of the big things. I know in some cases, some autistics are so far off that's nearly impossible to relate. I understand that there's very nonverbal, very regressive autistics, and in that case, you know, I recommend doing the best you can, but I'm just, you know, offering this as a suggestion to parents. I know that it might not always be successful, but I believe that if you start trying to get into the autistic's mind today, doing what they do, that they're going to have a greater appreciation for you and want and see you as being a part of their world. Another thing I want to talk about is fevers. There's been a lot of research going on about fevers, not just related to autism. What they have shown so far is that about 80% of autistics show improvement. Now, isn't that something? Not only that, about 30% seem to be completely cured of autism while they have a fever. And get this, even cancer patients have showed improvement, as in some of the cancer cells go away while they have a fever. So what I'm getting at is if you can support anything that does further research in fevers or that can cause fevers. I know in general we look at fever as a bad thing, but there might be a lot of good and benefit that could come out of fever research. So I recommend that that you look into that further and support it. So if there's like a cancer thing and they want to support more research for fevers, support that, because that might help cure autism too, not just cancer. A lot of diseases, and even mental and physical, they might go both ways. What cures one might also cure the other. The next thing I want to talk about is in regards to a question I got in my last video. And what I was being asked about is how autistics perceive noises, and also how they perceive noises when an individual is talking to them. When someone's talking to an autistic, they do hear the noise all the time. But it is dissociated, like the autistic doesn't realize where the noise is coming from. And the reason for this is because, well, think of it this way. It's kind of like, lightning and thunder. You see one, and then you hear the other a while later. It's kind of like that of autism. You see one, you feel the other a while later. And so it's kind of the same way with autism. You see something, but you're not associating it with the same thing. With lightning, you see the streak going down the sky, it's bright, and then 5 minutes later maybe you feel something, and if you weren't told that what it is, you might think that they're two separate things. So that's kind of what it is like with autism when they're hearing you talk. So that is a challenge that has to be overcome. Hopefully that by trying to find a way to relate to their rule, the autistic will hopefully start to see that the noise and you are connected as one, but that isn't always the case. The next thing I want to talk about is I noticed a lot lately on forums and other things that there's a lot of finger pointing going on, especially towards celebrities. And I want to say that these celebrities that support autism are doing a really wonderful thing. Yes, you might not agree with their views or the treatment methods that they want to offer, but they've gathered a lot of funding for autism. They've really helped gather information for parents. And these celebrities are really actually doing a lot for them. Just think of it this way. How would you feel if you were trying to help out autism? You put a lot of time, money, and effort into it, and then suddenly you have people attacking you. Just think about how that would make you feel. What we have to do is we shouldn't be pointing fingers at people. We should be trying to get together and say, all right, maybe I don't agree with this idea that you state here. What about these other treatments here? Let's not attack someone because they think of one thing. There are lots of better treatment ideas and things like that out there, but let's not attack people. Let's come together and talk about these different things. Let's put all these ideas together. Let's find a cure instead of hating each other. And the next thing, talking about finding a cure, is that there's a lot of people talking about thinking more about what caused the autism. I hear more about, I think my child got autism because of vaccine or blah 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 blah. We need to focus less on why your child has autism, if you have a child with autism, and focus more on finding a cure. Because your child has autism now, we have to accept that. Let's not try to, yes, it would be nice to know where it came from, but what's more important is finding a cure. That is what we need to achieve, is finding a cure for that. And before I end this video, there's one other thing I want to talk about. Sometime very soon in the near future, I'm going to be having a presentation in Southern California. So if you live in Southern California, you're invited to come to this presentation. Or if you want to speak at this presentation, just message me and tell me what you believe you have to offer at this presentation. When I get more concrete information about this, I'll give you a date and a location for that. That is all for today. I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and I hope that my video has helped at least one person. If it has, then I've done my job. So take care, and goodbye.